Nailed it. See, now you're back, everything's slipping back into the way it used to be.
Just clicking together like Connect 4. That's right, I'm back from my various holidays to the French Caribbean.
You look very tanned.
Yeah, I had to stay inside for 2 weeks, so that completely went. But back just in time for a week in the NFL where the Tennessee Titans managed to turn their star receiver A.J. Brown into the meme of the decade.
A Niners player needed a quick back de-icing from his support staff.
Well, you can't drive him covered in ice, can you? The classic British driveway. February. De-ice that man's lower back. And Tom Brady accurately predicted just how many kicks Dan Bailey was going to miss when the Vikings rolled into town. That's what he was doing all along. He wasn't embarrassing himself.
So we would be remiss if we didn't send him straight over to AGUAYO. Why did he miss later on today?
What's up, guys? This is Roberto Aguyao, NVL kicking expert.
And also we've got a visit to Revis Island, the finest island in the Caribbean. And also this week we have the guest of all guests. If he's not played for your team, then I'm sorry, you're not an NFL franchise. It's Jeff Garcia.
Krispy Kremes. Let's get a box.
So we will see you after a word from your local title sequence. Let's go.
Weren't high pick draft picks, but they got drafted. And I'm like, those guys can't even wear my jock. And Jamarcus Russell, and I'm through training camp with him. He's 305 pounds. I had started a Mexican food restaurant.
What was it called? What was the name of the restaurant, Jeff?
Garcia's Restaurante, man.
We're back around the table for the first time in a very long time.
In a very long time.
Very long time.
And so we thought we'd get a mammoth of the game, ladies and gentlemen. A 4-time Pro Bowler, the 1998 Grey Cup champion and, dare I say it, MVP, most valuable player, sure, why not? Add that to the trophy cabinet. One of 11 QBs in NFL history to throw 30 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons.
And the only Browns quarterback of the modern era to win a starting game, ladies and gentlemen, is Jeff Garcia.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Garcia, how are you doing, sir?
You got that right. I'm doing good, man. Good
you may know this man from every single team in the league. The Calgary Stampeders, the San Francisco 49ers, the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Oakland Raiders for a little bit.
And don't forget, San Jose State Spartan and Gilroy High School Mustangs. Go Mustangs!
Mustangs, that's right. And go Spartans. Hey, 6-0.
Mate, well, in 1992, a lot of people don't know this, Jeff was the first person to win a Big Ten game for the college, right, against Minnesota. Am I wrong in saying that? I think
that's right. We played at the University of Minnesota, back when I was at San Jose State, and first time they ever beat a Big Ten opponent. So that was a big win for us.
But let's wind it back, because I've listened to podcasts with Jeff Garcia, and they have criminally ignored this man's career. Criminally. Correct me if I'm wrong. People saying, Jeff, what do you think about Colin Kaepernick? Jeff, what do you think about Carson Wentz? Jeff, let's talk about your career. Tell me about Gilroy, growing up, watching Joe Montana for the Niners, 49ers fan, watching John Elway for the Stanford Cardinal. How was that?
Yeah, no, those were absolutely my idols growing up. I grew up in a football family. My dad was a football coach at a junior college, which is a 2-year college in the States, and they're all over the United States.
Oh, we know JUCO, baby. Last chance you. We love that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. The 2-year schools, right? The community colleges. And hey, it gave me a chance to continue to hone my skills, so to speak, and to mature. Hey, coming out of high school, I wasn't recruited, little undersized, which is what I've heard all my life. Hey, you're just not big enough or tall enough as far as the quarterback position is concerned. That being said, I played for my dad. My dad was the head football coach there. Now, growing up, nobody would have ever thought that I would have been playing in the NFL. Yeah. Even me. You know, there aren't a whole lot of Mexicans. I'm an Irish Mexican, but not a whole lot of Mexicans in the National Football League. But, you know, that being said, I just kept climbing that mountain, man.
How sweet was it in your final year when Bill Walsh rolls into town? He came down the year before and you played pretty well. He had some nice things to say about you. And then they come back in your senior year, I believe, and you almost run them by yourself.
No, that was a heck of a game over there at Stanford. And we had every chance to win that football game and came down to a final drive. We just didn't get it finished off. But you know, Bill said a lot of great things after that game. He said that Garcia kid did some Joe Montana-like things, you know, and so I always remembered that and I was appreciative of it. And then when I saw Bill Walsh, Bill was walking around the practice one day and my dad's like, hey, there's Coach Walsh. Why don't you go up to him and say thank you for what he said to you? And so I walked up to him and introduced myself to him and he's like, I know who you are. And I said, hey, coach, I just want to thank you for the kind words that you said about me after the game against you guys. And he's like, you know what, Jeff? Hey, you're deserving of it. You're a hell of a player. And this weekend, you're going to be the MVP of the game.
Cut to the fourth quarter, 6 minutes to go. A certain Jay Garcia for the West. 3 scoring drives. 3.
Yeah, no, 3 drives and then finished with the 2-point run in. I run in, little 2-point conversion to take the lead and end up winning the game. Yeah.
The 2-point conversion king.
Already in your career, you know, going through JUCO, going to San Jose State, people already saying he's 6 foot, he's too small to play the position. Point blank, can't do it. And then you're MVP of the East-West Shrine game, and then the draft rolls around and they don't call your name. Not in any of the rounds. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was disappointing. It was discouraging in a lot of ways. I felt like there were guys that were getting drafted. I mean, the guys that I played in the East-West Shrine game with, a couple of those guys weren't draft picks, but they got drafted. And I'm like, those guys can't even wear my jock, man. I mean, like, they don't even compare to what I bring to the field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you're watching like Trent Dilfer and Heath Schuler were the top 2 quarterbacks taken.
I will
in that
not
draft
have Trent Dilfer's name besmirched at this table, Jeff Garcia. How dare you, sir?
Gus Frerotte was a guy taken later that same year that I came out. Was taken later by the Redskins and ended up being the better player of the 2. That being said, you know, it was frustrating. I didn't know a lot about the draft, to be honest with you. Back then, it's not highlighted like it is today. Players go to specialized training to prepare for the NFL Combine. They just said, show up, you're going to get weighed and your height measured, and then you're going to run a 40. And I'm like, for what? Playing on the football field. And so we go out to the track. I hadn't even run a 40 in probably 3 years. And I'm running a 40 for NFL scouts. That's like, I didn't even know what the hell I was supposed to prepare for.
I find it really interesting, especially with your career, because a lot of it is on you, not gonna lie, but like they keep getting knocked back. People saying, no, you're not big enough. But you're like, well, look at the East-West Shrine game. No, we don't want you, you're not big enough. You can't run a 40 quick enough. Yeah, but I can dip around defenders, I can run 2 points in, you know what I mean? And I find it really interesting how you have, your success, I believe, is that absolute tenacity, but then one particular name that always had your back, Bill Walsh. When you were undrafted, correct me if I'm wrong, he put the word out to all the teams, and then the Green Bay Packers, Steve Mariucci, who was the quarterback's coach at the time, didn't have a spot for you. He said, you can come and be the practice squad QB if you want, but you're not gonna make the team.
Well, actually, he didn't even offer that, okay? So this was a situation. He calls my apartment that's in San Jose, where I'm, you know, still going to school. No cell phones, nothing at the time. I didn't even have a beeper. I didn't even know how to operate a pager.
Hello, Steve Mariucci.
Yeah, exactly. That was the phone. And so I answer the phone. He's like, hey, Jeff, this is Coach Mariucci, quarterback coach for the Green Bay Packers. Hey, I just wanted to get back to you and say that, hey, we're pretty stacked at the quarterback position right now. We're going to bring in probably just a practice squad quarterback. Well, that guy ended up being Kurt Warner. And so he's like, hey, if you have a chance to go to Canada, go play up in the CFL, get some experience. You never know what's going to happen after that. And so I signed a contract with Calgary, not knowing really what I was even getting into, not represented by an agent or anything like that. So I signed 1 year because I don't want to lock in for 2 or 3 years. Coach Wally Buono, he calls me on the phone at my parents' house and I answer and he's like, hey, Jeff, where's the second year of the contract? And I'm like, well, coach, I don't want to lock in. But I said, look, I want to play in the NFL, coach. And he scoffed. He's like, you either sign the second year of the contract or there is no contract.
I mean, like, let's just touch base on, first of all, that sounds like the meanest Canadian I've ever heard of. I've heard they were lovely. Was there a point where you were like, you know what? I don't need to do the NFL. I'm going to be a legend here in Canada.
Absolutely. I thought that the NFL wasn't going to happen for me, that I was having a great time. I wasn't making anywhere close to NFL money, but I was making enough. I purchased a home in Calgary. I had started a Mexican food restaurant in Calgary.
What was it called? What was the name of the restaurant, Jeff?
Garcia's Restaurante. Man.
Jeff, I thought you were going to go with at least an Irish pub that served tacos.
I love it.
Yeah, Carlos O'Brien. We had some good things going on up in the city there. And I just felt like, you know what, I'm having a great time. I'm around a great group of guys. You know, I was okay okay with it.
And then another small window opened.
San Francisco 49ers. Guess who? Bill Walsh. Ring-a-ding. Jeff, do you want to come and have a tryout? And so all Jeff Garcia's American chickens come home to roost. And
back to California.
let me know if this is true. You signed that contract with no representation and having no idea how much you were going to earn.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Just was like, where do I sign?
But luckily, you know, you went to San Francisco. You needed a little bit of time to acclimatize to the NFL, and you got that. 3 games he got on the sidelines, and then Steve Young goes down. Aeneas Williams, Steve Young's final concussion, and that's his final play ever in the NFL. Enter Jeff Garcia, age 29. So you managed to struggle through the rest of that game. You won the game, and then suddenly all the people wearing the claret and the gold know who Jeff Garcia is. What was that like?
Yeah, nationally covered game, and getting that opportunity, basically playing the entire second half. And yeah, it was limited in the sense we had a lead. We were protecting the lead, so they didn't ask me to do too much, but I handled it. And it was an exciting feeling. You never want to take over in a situation where there's an injury to somebody, but that stuff happens.
It speaks to your mental toughness as a player, which is so underrated. You, in the East-West Shrine game, absolutely bossed it, killed it. And then you go to the NFL draft not 2 months later, and they say, no, you're not good enough. And then you go into 4 games, which you lost on the bounce. The 49er fans were so used to success, they just jumped on your back because you were the easiest one to blame. So what was that like, going from hero to zero immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I was putting it on myself as well. I mean, when I looked at the team, the major change of the landscape of the team was the quarterback position. You don't have Steve Young running the show anymore. You have this guy, Jeff Garcia. And we were 3-1 at one time to then not being able to win a football game. Those struggles I was internalizing personally. I was taking it upon myself, and I was trying to be perfect, which causes all kinds of confusion in your own head and doesn't allow you to just read and react. And, you know, it took a benching for me to sit on the sidelines and see another quarterback go in and struggle himself and understand that, hey, you know, it's not all on me. My quarterback coach put a clip of plays together, about 60 plays or so that I had in those first 5 games that were basically reiterating to me that I have the ability to play at this level. Now it's a matter of stringing the consistency together.
Yeah.
And the comparison between those first 5 starts where I threw 2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, to the last 5 starts where I threw 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, were tremendous. And the ability to deflect the pressure and get back to having fun and not overthinking, over worrying. And then it led to my next year, which ended up being one of the best years in 49er history.
Thank you very much, Jeff Garcia. He was hyped for this interview, wasn't he?
I think he's hyped for life.
He came out the gate just barking.
Yeah.
Anyway, from one hothead to another, me on Rivas Island. Just look at the tan that I had before I wilted 2 weeks indoors.
Like a overwatered plant.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Rivas Island.
That was the voice as well.
Aloha, and welcome to one of the most stunning vistas on planet Earth. This is Revis Island and Revis Island Discs. This week, we shake a leg to the 1988 Philadelphia Eagles and Buddies watching you.
As we know, in the late 1980s, pop crossover hip-hop sung by NFL players was all the rage. Buddies Watching You is a poorly executed homage to then Philadelphia Eagles head coach, James Buddy Ryan, featuring big names like Jerome Brown, Randall Cunningham, Reggie White, and kicker Luis Zendejas. We were graced with iconic lines, such as
Luis Zendejas, I kick field goals, am I nervous? Yeah, I suppose. To win the game by hitting the mark, this game's over before it starts.
And who could forget the lyrical stylings of
Randall Cunningham, quarterback, the guy everybody wants to say.
All in all, it's another stellar addition to the NAF late 80s catalogue of NFL rap jams. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and let the music shower over you. Philadelphia Eagles, Buddies Watching You.
Jerome Brown with a lot to say. I back it up by the way I play. Guys, look at me and know what to do. I say, look out! And I'm coming on through. Randall Cunningham, quarterback, the guy everybody wants to say. Now you see
And this week, now back to Hugh and Chris, and another throwback, Jeff Garcia.
So after the 6-year contract extension that year, the Niners go 12-4, and then the year after, you lead them to the NFC West title. And now we are here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to do a new section this week. I dreamt it up just for you. It's called What Were You Thinking? Do you want to do it together?
Yeah, sure.
What were you thinking?
So it all comes down to this. 6 seconds to play.
All right, guys. Last play of the game.
You know, we were just doing it. We were just balling at that point. We just felt like we couldn't be denied.
Garcia fires. Touchdown 49ers.
So let's take it back. 2002 NFC wildcard game. 49ers versus Giants. The New York Giants trot into Candlestick Park, heavily favored, and the only thing standing in their path is a 6-foot quarterback. Too small to go to 4 Pro Bowls. Unfortunately, this quarterback and the team doesn't show up until the 3rd quarter with 3 minutes to go. So 38-14. Are you listening, Atlanta Falcons fans? That's 24 points behind.
So at this point, Garcia, what were you thinking?
Yeah, you know, I mean, first of all, when you're down 24 points, you know you can't get it all back in one drive, right? And so really at that point, I felt like we need to deflect pressure, right? The pressure's on the New York Giants. They have to stop us. Hey, we just need to put one drive together, string one drive together at a time. Went into the 2-minute no huddle offense. That's when I hit T.O. He scores. We get the 2-point conversion. Then we go down again. I score. We get another 2-point conversion, I believe, after that one.
Garcia, touchdown San Francisco.
And then get the field goal. But that final drive, there's plenty of time left. I figure, like, at this point, they're now scrambling. New York Giants are doubting themselves. They're starting to argue with each other. Yeah, it's getting chippy, man. And, you know, we were just doing it. We were just balling at that point.
From the 25, Garcia. Jeff Garcia. First down, San Francisco.
You know, I got down. We called basically a flanker short post type situation where I knew Ty Streets was going to run down. He was going to try to set the corner up like he was going to the corner and then come back inside on a little post route.
Garcia fires. Touchdown 49ers. They've come all the way back at Streets.
Yeah, man. I mean, the crowd went crazy. Some of the crowd had left. Well, they were in the parking lot listening to the crowd get crazy, going crazy. They couldn't get back in the stadium. They had to sit outside and listen to it. We missed the 2-point conversion. Actually, I throw an interception trying to get to T.O. on the 2-point conversion, and he's running down the sideline, and T.O. hits him laid out of bounds. Yeah, flags go flying. They end up kicking a player out from the Giants. There's penalties. Well, we're up only by 1 point instead of 3 points because we missed the 2-point conversion. And now it was on our defense to stop them, you know, and they hadn't really stopped the Giants all day long. You know, when the Giants were pushing the pedal to the metal, which they took the foot off the gas at one point, and that's what allowed us to get back in the game.
And then obviously you come back and win the game on another Matt Bryant shanked kick. It was the snapper that managed to fumble 2 snaps. He played in the NFL for 11 years and fumbled 2 snaps in the most important NFC wildcard of his life.
So it would be ridiculous of us if we did not, for this episode only, throw those 2 kicks over to Roberto Aguyao to break down. Jeff Garcia, would you do the honor?
Hey, man. It's time for Aguayo. Why did he miss, my man?
Yes! Love it!
And the kick is no good! And, he hits the upright again! That's impossible! Oh, he hits the upright! It's no good!
Kickers are second rounders too, baby!
Snap, hold, not even close. Holy Moses.
What's up, guys? This is Roberto Aguyao, NVL kicking expert. I know, everyone wants to say it. Dan Bailey misses 4 kicks. We'll get to that. First, though, with a game that looks like it was played in the dinosaur years. Matt Bryant, in his young 20s, This is brutal. You rarely see this happen. This is a specialist's worst nightmare. The snapper always gets overlooked. No one cares about him. No one knows who he is, but they know who he is if he throws a snapback like that. That is just awful. The holder does a good job of trying to save it, and he does. He gets it down. I would tell my holders, hey, just get it down. If it's a bad snap, just get it down. I'll find a way. You know, my athletic soccer background, I'll find a way to get it in there somehow. Matt Bryant doesn't even give it a chance. Everything just didn't work out for Bryant, and he misses. But what do you do after that miss? You go to the sidelines, you rep it out. You tell your snapper, hey, let's get 20. Let's get you comfortable, get his confidence up, because you know you're gonna go back out there. You have 3 minutes left. They go back out, they make the same mistake twice. That's what you don't wanna do. The same thing, doesn't even get it off. What a horrible way to lose. I'd rather lose kicking it and missing it rather than not getting it off. Give him a F grade, super bad. Moving on to Dan Bailey, 4 kicks. That just hurts. I felt for him. I watched the game. Snaps are great. Holds are great. Nothing like the first kick you guys just saw. Overcooked it on the first one like he did last week. The second one, he overcompensated, came out too early, missed it right. Now, once you miss 2, you're in your head. The misses are compounding. You go out there for the third one, you're like, okay, what can I do? You miss that one, and then it's like, oh my gosh, nothing's going for me. We all have those days where you go and just, you try to do your best and just nothing's going for you. I don't know, I wish I could get in his brain, see what's going on in there. It might not even be that, it might just be mechanical. And it might be something small, but once you have 1 miss, 2 miss, 3 miss, you don't know where you're at. Now, throwing the stat, let's bring in the stat book out here. The percentage chance you have to make a 42-yard field goal going into the south end zone at Raymond James Stadium is 75%. Switch that, going to the north end zone is a little bit over 82%. That might not be a big difference, but in a stadium where it's been tough to kick, I know, I played there, it's tough to kick in there. Next time you're watching Raymond James Stadium, make sure to see if the kicker's going to the south end zone. Maybe you guys want to do some bets. I don't know. Could have contributed because 3 of his 4 misses were into the south end zone. Bailey's going through it. I know he'll get out of it. He's been one of the best kickers in the league. I mean, I remember when he was wearing his Mercurial Vapors, the orange ones back in college at Oklahoma State. But hope you guys like this and catch y'all next week. Have a good weekend.
And we are back around the table with Mr. Jeff Garcia. Let's talk about now the end of San Francisco, because you've had all this success, but not the kind of success that I guess the 49er faithful are used to. And they asked you to take a pay cut, am I correct? You were playing on an incentive-based contract. You'd earned that contract, right?
That's right. So first of all, you fire Steve Mariucci. We were headed in the right direction. Second round of the playoffs, lost to the eventual championship team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that year win the Super Bowl. And then they fire Steve Mariucci. And it's like, why are you firing the head coach? We just went to back-to-back playoff seasons, won the NFC West Division title, and you're firing him? A garbage call, let's be honest. That was that was the start of the downfall. So we end up being a less than 500 team that year. And at that point, ownership and management's ready to clean house. And I was on an incentive-laden contract, which had gotten me, because of how I had played, to a certain number that they didn't want to pay anymore. And so they just said, well, we're not going to pay it. We'll let you go. And so they let me go.
Because you described it as a negative situation in San Francisco. Like, what was the pressure like of trying to live up to Montana and Young?
Yeah, you know, I think I got to the point where I really got comfortable in the situation. I always knew that you're not going to be talked about like a Joe Montana or Steve Young until you win a Super Bowl title, right? And I think we were actually headed in the right direction. We were a solid group defensively. We had a lot of young, talented players. We were explosive on offense, well balanced. We had a great running game. Obviously, it's been documented that T.O. and I had our differences, and we had our struggles at points.
I mean, I'm working my butt off. We're not connecting on offense.
Because wasn't there like a breakfast meeting where you sat in one area of the canteen and he came in and sat in another?
We were the only 2 guys in the breakfast room. And I was sitting at a table. I was already there. He walks in, he gets his food. He goes and sits at another table. And I'm just like, man, this has got to come to an end. And so I got up and I went over to him at his table and I just said, hey, man, I don't know what the deal is, but we need to squash this. I have no problems with you. I appreciate you as a player. We were able to squash it. Now, it didn't stay squashed for long because he had some things to say in the offseason.
Yeah.
Since then, we've been able to put it all behind us, and we're cool. We're cool.
2009, Oakland Raiders training camp. Jamarcus Russell. What happened in that training camp?
I go to the Raiders. I'm thinking, hey, I started in the Bay on the west side of the Bay with the Niners. I'll finish my career on the east side of the Bay with the Raiders under a new head coach and Jamarcus Russell, and I'm through training camp with him. He's 305 pounds. He's big as the offensive lineman. He's in poor shape. To me, I feel like this is bullshit, first of all.
Yeah.
Because I'm a better leader, and I know that I will operate the offense better, and I'm what this team needs on the field right now. And I felt like it was a shame in a sense because I still believed I had so much to give.
Did you say things to him during the training camp? Because you were a veteran at that point. It must have really pissed you off.
Yeah, hey, I would try to get him in the weight room. Hey, work out with us. Hey, this is how you need to be looking at things. And you know, I'm not saying he was a bad guy. He wasn't a bad guy at all. He just didn't know what he didn't know and wasn't interested in knowing it. Yeah. And so he just thought he could show up and his certain abilities would allow him to have success, which at this point in the National Football League, you can't do that anymore.
I love the idea of Jeff Garcia having been told you're too small to be a starting quarterback. Then Jamarcus Russell turns up at 300 pounds and you're like, seriously?
You know, I was blessed to have the career that I had, and that's what I'm thankful
But you
for.
finished your career how you finished your career how you played your career, fighting for it, which is I've got so much respect for. The East-West Shrine game, playing brilliantly, and then being told, no, you're too small. Go to Canada, go and do that. Winning everything there is to win in Canada, going to San Francisco, being thrust into a situation where you had no time to prepare, and still ground out success in San Francisco, being released. After being asked to take a pay cut, which is absurd. Take the Philadelphia Eagles to the playoffs. No, we don't want you. Okay, I'll go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll take them to the playoffs. No, we don't want you. It's just a testament to you, man. It's so awesome. And I think it's time for a game. I think we should have a little game.
Appreciate it.
I feel like Hugh set it up perfectly there with that fitting testimony to the grittiness and toughness of Jeff Garcia. And so we thought it would be a fitting tribute if we put some of that grittiness and toughness on display. We have sent Jeff Garcia 5 clips of him being brutally sacked during his NFL career. And the game is called
Jeff Garcia's Grassy Arse.
We want to see how well, if you can remember who the person is that's
sacking
sacked you.
So the videos are on your phone. Feel free to go and look at them now.
I mean, honestly, if I took a couple of these hits, I wouldn't remember who sacked me. So if you can remember any of them, Jeff, it will be very impressive.
Oh, this is against the New York Giants. This is the playoff game, huh? Oh, Strahan.
Strahan, 2007.
Oh, I remember this hit.
Yeah, I bet you do. Look at that head snap back. My God, Jeff Garcia. Slide, man. Why don't you slide?
I don't recall his name, though. Who was it? What was that guy's name?
Defensive tackle for the NVL Throwbacks. Do you give up?
Yeah.
Apples and pears?
It's Tommy Harris.
Tommy Harris.
Tommy Harris. Put you on your Harris, son.
Put you on your Harris. Gave you a grassy arse. Harris gave you a grassy arse.
Number 3, Jeff Garcia.
Gosh, from the Rams. Who is that, number 98?
I'll give you his first name.
Yeah.
Grant.
Winstrom.
Grant Winstrom. I'll give you that. 2 and 1. On to number 4.
2 and 1.
Jeff Garcia battling hard.
It's yours to lose now, Jeff.
The New York Giants. Give me his first name.
OC. That's easy.
OC. I don't know. OC Omenura?
Let's do the last one, my favorite one.
The corner gets me really more than the defensive lineman.
Yeah, it's the corner, the name that I want.
Jammer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Quinton Jammer. Rearrange Jeff Garcia's face. Can I just...
Is that Jeff going,
Why didn't you slide?
A couple times I tried to slide. It was very unnatural and it almost hurt more. But I always wanted to get the dip and get the extra yard, right? So defenders obviously know that. And Quinton Jammer timed it up perfectly. I went to dive. He hit the top of my helmet. That thing came down, crushed the tip of my nose. and then I was bleeding
Pouring
from
blood.
inside my nose and on top of my nose. It didn't end well, but hey, I was still in there. I didn't let him knock me out, that's for sure.
But Jeff Garcia finishes the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was incredibly entertaining, and I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate your time. Had a good long chat.
You got it, guys. Appreciate it, man.
And remember, guys, Jeff doesn't slide.
Jeff never slides.